Have you ever wondered what true kindness looks like when no one's watching? Imagine walking into a bookstore, the scent of old paper filling the air, shelves stacked high with stories waiting to be explored. In a quiet corner, a man in worn-out clothes sits hunched over a book, completely lost in its pages. Most people pass him by without a second glance, but one man stops. That man is Keanu Reeves. This isn't just a celebrity encounter, it's a moment that reveals the depth of human compassion. Before we dive into the full story, take a moment to subscribe to our channel, Timeless Stories, where we share inspiring tales that warm the heart and spark reflection. Now back to our story. It was a rainy afternoon in New York City, the kind that makes people hurry past each other with heads down, avoiding puddles and cold gusts of wind. Inside a small, independent bookstore nestled between towering buildings, the atmosphere was different, warm, welcoming, and quiet, with only the occasional rustle of pages and soft whispers of customers discussing their favorite finds. Keanu had slipped inside, unnoticed by most, wearing his usual unassuming attire, a worn-out jacket, a backpack slung over his shoulder, and a quiet presence that blended easily into the crowd. As he browsed the shelves, his eyes landed on a man sitting cross-legged on the floor, deeply engrossed in a book. The man's clothes were tattered, his face marked by the struggles of life on the streets. Yet in that moment, he looked content, as if the book in his hands transported him to another world, far from the cold sidewalks and indifferent crowds outside. Keanu watched for a while, and then, in his signature quiet way, approached the man and knelt beside him. "Good book?" he asked with a gentle smile. The man looked up, startled at first, then relaxed when he saw the kindness in Keanu's eyes. "Yeah," he replied hesitantly. "It's one of my favorites." Keanu nodded, glancing at the worn pages and frayed edges of the book. "Books have a way of taking us places, don't they?" he said, and the man smiled, a genuine smile that spoke of gratitude for being seen, for being acknowledged. Without hesitation, Keanu reached into his backpack and pulled out a book of his own, one he had just purchased. "Here," he said, handing it over. "I think you might like this one, too." The man hesitated, eyes widening with surprise, but eventually took the book with trembling hands. "Thank you. Thank you so much," he whispered. The moment could have ended there, but Keanu didn't just walk away. Instead, he sat down beside the man, his movements unhurried, his expression warm and sincere. He asked the man's name, and as they started talking, it became clear that this was no ordinary celebrity encounter. Keanu didn't just exchange pleasantries, he truly listened. They spoke of literature, life, and dreams that once seemed within reach but had since drifted away. The man, initially hesitant, slowly opened up, sharing pieces of his past, the struggles he faced, and the hopes he still clung to despite the harshness of the streets. Keanu listened intently, nodding, occasionally offering a thoughtful response or a quiet laugh at an old memory the man shared. Passers-by who noticed the scene couldn't help but pause, their hurried steps slowing as they watched the Hollywood star sitting cross-legged on the bookstore floor, engaging in genuine conversation with someone society often overlooked. Some recognized Keanu, whispering among themselves, but he remained unfazed, focused solely on the man before him. There was no rush, no impatience, just a simple human connection that felt almost out of place in a world that often moved too fast. Minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity, yet neither of them seemed to mind. Eventually, Keanu reached into his pocket and handed the man a few folded bills, pressing them gently into his hand. "Just in case you need a warm meal tonight," he said, his voice kind but firm, as if ensuring the man would accept it without hesitation. The man looked down at the money, then back at Keanu, his eyes welling up with tears. "You didn't have to do this," he whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. Keanu simply smiled, his eyes filled with understanding. "Take care of yourself, all right?" he said, patting the man on the shoulder before standing up. And just like that, he left, blending back into the crowd as quietly as he had come. No grand gestures, no waiting for applause, just a quiet act of kindness, unnoticed by most but deeply felt by the one who needed it most. This small moment wasn't meant for cameras or headlines. It wasn't an attempt to boost his image or impress anyone. It was simply who Keanu is. A reminder that true kindness doesn't need an audience. It's in the little things, the unseen gestures, in the genuine care we show for others when no one is watching. And this story leaves us with an important question. When was the last time we stopped to truly see someone? To acknowledge them, to listen, to offer a kind word or gesture without expecting anything in return? In a world that often moves too fast, where people rush past one another with their eyes fixed on their own worries, sometimes the greatest impact comes from slowing down and truly connecting with those around us. A moment of kindness, no matter how small, can ripple through someone's life in ways we may never fully realize. So if this story moved you, consider spreading kindness in your own way today. It doesn't take much. Perhaps it's sharing a smile with a stranger, offering a listening ear to someone who needs it, or simply being present in a world that often demands our constant attention elsewhere. The smallest actions can create the biggest differences, and if you want to hear more inspiring stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Timeless Stories. Together we can make kindness the story we tell every day, because in the end, it's not about how much we have, but how much we give of our time, our attention, and our compassion. Let's be the reason someone believes in the goodness of people today.